Nope.
Good evening, folks. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Hinckley Township Board of Trustees to order on Tuesday, April 4 at 6:31 p.m. Please call the roll.
Swedek,
Here.
Asherle,
Here.
Augustine.
Here.
Also present are Fire Chief Rosenbaum and Superintendent Bahari. Police Chief has an excused absence this evening. I'd like to ask everybody to stand and honor the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get going, do an approval of the last minutes. The first will be moved to approve the minutes for March 16 special trustee meeting.
I will abstain.
Second.
Seconded by Asherle. All in favor?
Aye.
Next is move to approve the minutes for the March 21 regular trustee meeting.
I have one edit to that. On the 5th page, 4th paragraph, where it says Ms. Augustine continued the CT consultants discussion, that should say Ms. Asherle.
Got it?
That's all I have.
Bottom of page 4. Further discussion ensued as to motion made for the board to approve submissions for the Hinckley Record Trustee Corner prior to publication. I'd like to enter a sentence. Ms. Augustine stated that she feels the motion should be sent to the prosecutor's office for legal guidance as she feared the motion violated First Amendment rights.
I think that's at the end of that paragraph.
It says that Ms. Augustine was in fear of her First Amendment
Well, you
rights.
did say that, but if you go down on the top of page 5, the 3rd line, Ms. Augustine discussed asking the Medina County Prosecutor's Office for an opinion on the motion made to approve the Hinckley Record Trustees Corner submission. If
That's
you'd
fine.
like to have that First Amendment rights statement added to that, I'm happy to do it.
That's fine. Let's consolidate it. They go together.
Move as amended.
Well, you said it, well, again, I'm not gonna get into it, but
Top of page 6, Mr. Swedek informed the trustees that he received feedback from the Medina County Prosecutor's Office on the Hinckley Township Non-Union Policy Manual and will forward. We still have not received that document.
where are you at?
Top of page 6, Hinckley Township Non-Union Policy Manual. And
That's not at the top of my page 6.
Not at the top of my 6.
It's at the bottom of page 5.
that's the top of my page 6 on my computer.
So what do you want it to say?
And will forward the draft to the trustees. We still have not received that email.
And you will.
Is
But-
that accurate?
But we have not received it, which is what
Yeah,
it said.
But did he say has?
Yeah, what did he say? That's what I'm trying to determine.
I do not know.
How about if I just take, I don't know, what do you want it to say, folks?
You can say we'll send it. I'm fine with that.
And will forward.
Perfect.
So sometimes we have to say what's been said at the meeting, because these are the minutes, not what occurred after as far as actions. We can't change.
I read it differently. I read that it has been sent and it has not. Top of my page 7, which I don't know if this is the top of yours. I would just like to add, Ms. Augustine refuted this observation and stated this was not her intent to fully fund the project with taxpayer dollars, which is why she was exploring grant options.
Can you send me that?
Sure can. Do you want me to read it back to you, trustees
No.
Swedek and Asherle?
Nope.
Very good. That is all I have for that one.
Move as amended.
Second.
Seconded by Asherle. All in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Move to approve the minutes for the March 18, 2023 special trustee meeting.
28th. March 28th.
March 28th.
I thought the title was, oh, that might be.
I would just like to add the statement that I made as to why I voted no and the reason for executive session.
Oh,
I don't think it's necessary.
I think it's pertinent to the conversation.
I would second to just approve them.
Well, I stated that my vote reflected that previous council had stated that the motion should not be used for executive session. I think that's an important component to why I voted the way I did.
I'm fine with them as is. I would second as is.
A motion and a second. All in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay, moving on. We have some special guests this evening. David Krebs from AODK Architects to discuss the strengthening downtown Hinckley.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. And I'm not David. Actually, we'll hear from David in just a moment. It's my job to introduce him. My name is Brian Pembos. I am the family attorney for the Gaffney family. Sean and Karen are here in attendance. I've known them for many years, and they are 29-year residents of the Hinckley Township.
can I interrupt you? Could you
Yes.
spell your name and say it again?
I would be happy to. First name is Brian with a Y, B-R-Y-A-N. Last name is Pembos, P-E-N-B-O-S-E.
D-O-S-E?
Yes.
B like in B, Bravo, or B?
V as in Victor.
B as in Victor.
Yeah. Hard to get right, I know. Anyhow, recently, Sean and Karen, through a company called Cadence Realty LLC, purchased approximately 9 acres formerly held by Hinckley Center Inc., as well as the former taxidermy shop just across the corner here on the northeast intersection of 303 and Ridge Road in the newly created B3 Historic Town Center District. They have asked me to speak on their behalf tonight and to introduce architect David Krebs, who will be presenting on their behalf. We thank you for placing us on tonight's agenda and for the opportunity to share with you just a glimpse of our vision for the new downtown Hinckley. The Gaffney family is blessed to be able to give back to our community and have initiated a project in the historic section of downtown Hinckley as something that they want to do for the community rather than must do. Tonight, we are sharing with you a preliminary vision for downtown Hinckley in hopes that this can be a catalyst for further conversation to create a true community project. We understand that sharing a vision without detail will likely raise questions that we are simply unable to answer at this time, but we want to communicate our vision with Hinckley residents early in this process so that this is truly a project for Hinckley by Hinckley. Our vision is to reinvigorate historic town center, allowing Hinckley residents to stay in Hinckley for everyday tasks and to inspire and to facilitate community interaction. We hope to create a fresh new atmosphere by giving local entrepreneurs and businesses an opportunity to help enhance the area. We also plan to provide green space for Hinckley residents to gather and interact within a nature-like setting, complementing our metro parks. All this can happen in a vibrant town center designed with small town charm the way Hinckley residents intended. Please rest assured that the vision is not to compete with other businesses already established in the area, Foster's, Hoppy Doo's, Stefanik's, and others. Rather, the goal is to create something new to complement them. To be clear, our vision does not include any dollar-type discount stores, big box stores, or national brands. We also will not be creating senior living or conservation developments. We have a different vision than that and are excited to share our preliminary ideas with you tonight. We brought a handout. I'll leave here by the door and hand to the trustees at the conclusion of Mr. Krebs' presentation for anyone in attendance tonight, as well as the trustees. Mr. David Krebs is the president and design director of AODK Architecture. He has over 30 years of experience working to create spaces that transform how people live, work, and socialize. Small town, big hearts is our township motto. We believe that we can all benefit from keeping the character of this long-standing motto alive and well. David, if you would do us the pleasure.
We can move the podium.
We get
We
the
can, yeah, we can move the podium.
Thank you.
There you go.
There we go.
Good deal. One, David Krebs, and appreciate the opportunity to stand up and talk today and just get kind of an idea what we're thinking about. This isn't any way a set plan, it's just kind of where we started with and some things that we've been thinking about. We wanted to share them just to get some, make sure everybody knew what's going on, not to keep anything secret. We want to do everything we do. We want to be able to show everybody what we're doing. So to start with, what we want to do is just kind of talk about where the project is in the town, what it looks like in terms of the property, talk about kind of what some of our goals are that we've been starting to look at for it, and then show a couple site plan options. We're not saying this is it, that's why we're showing a couple of them. We haven't gotten far enough to say it is. We just want to see for ourselves what we think would fit and meet some parking requirements and meet some of those kind of items too. So we're going to show you a little bit of that too as we go along. So project scope wise, if we look at the size of the property, and right now it's about 8.9 acres. It comes off that this is Center Road and Ridge Road, existing the gun shop area, and existing retail location here, parking lot. Is the property comes across, goes behind the church, and then goes all the way back up the hill. And there's a cell phone tower in the back corner of the property at the northwest or northeast, and then it comes back behind and wraps back around. So that's the scale of it, and just short of there. And one of the first things we did when we looked at the property was just to kind of get a feel for what's here. As was mentioned earlier, our goal is to try to be complementary to the things that are in town already, and then try to think of what types of programs could be could work together with the ones that are here right now to supplement that, to make something that works together well as a group. So this was an idea for ourselves, just figuring out what's in the location. And then from there, as we go along later in the presentation, we're going to talk about the things we think could start to fit into here. And some of that went along with a plan, I think it was in 2015, that kind of said, that sent out, so what types of things would we want here? And we try to build off those items. So project goals, we wanted to look at saying, can we create a sense of place? And place is a physical environment, it's a building or location, but in architecture and planning, we look at it as something that's be memorable, something where people can interact together. And that's between nature, the built environment, human activity, and create places where those type of things can happen, where people can socialize, different ages, different people could all be together. So in place, when we look at towns, one of the areas onto here is just looking at what do towns have. Some towns have, so some would have a town square. So I'm going to say Medina on the top left there, or a plaza, or little pocket parks, or little streets or pavilions. Right now there is the park at the corner. We don't want to take anything away from that, but we also want to do create a place where people can be and where people can interact together in here. So that was one of our core things when we get to our plans we're looking at, was can we create a place where people can be? And some places say I'm kind of in the middle of something here. And then allow the different program pieces that we put together to allow them to filter into there too. So when we talk about place, we also talk about like community actor. What types of things do people get together to do? Cornhole tournaments or pumpkin festivals or art or ice cream or bands or music, gardening, those type of things. So trying to do things that people socialize together in, allow neighbors and the residents to come out and be part of. But community activator is another piece, another type of part of place when we talk about places that we want to do. So before we even put pencil to paper, we start thinking about what types of things would do this and create that in the center of the town. And then you get some outdoor spaces that could do that too, whether they be cafes and patios, places for people to eat and socialize together, could be movie nights, different things like that we try to create those type of environments. Just a little bit on how we design and how we as an office, what we focus on. So what we do is we focus, there's a concept called biophilia, which deals with our innate connection to nature as humans, that the people need to be connected to nature And we felt like that this was a great opportunity to do that. We have just the way the terrain goes on the property, the way the trees are and the woods are, can we create that as a piece of it? So our goal isn't to wipe the property out, but the goal is to say, how do we bring nature into what we're doing? So that's an integral part of it. So that's a concept called biophilia. Biophilic design sets out these principles on how to do that. And what it does is it relates to how we see nature, how it connects to us, and at a cognitive neuroscience level, what's happening in our bodies and our brains in those environments. And of course, there's a set of tools to start to work by, and that's inherent in who we are as a company, as AODK, of what we do. And when we start looking at what does that look like, what does that mean when you start looking at buildings and places, and so some examples of, we're just pulling some images and saying, okay, these are the types of things. So whether you're indoors, you're looking out, whether you're outdoors, you can see in, nature comes through the buildings and connects into it. And that also then we start looking at materials and textures that are very natural, the wood textures, stone, glass, mixing those together and creating environments that would do, this type of a character in the spaces. Also, we can look at things like greenhouses, where nature now is brought inside too. So instead of just looking at it or connecting that, we're actually bringing it inside and creating spaces that do that. So when we saw the property, we said that's the type of thing that we want to do. As a starting point was create these places, create public places for people to gather, but then also character-wise create places where people can be connected to nature. Just for one is we have our philosophical belief behind that is we believe architecture can change how people live, their health, their wellness, everything across the board, and we want to create a place for the community where that happens. This is another example of a project that we completed. This is a winery, and how it sits into the woods. It had some similar characteristics when we started looking at this property here, because the property does go down and it goes back up towards the cell phone tower. And the plans we're going to show the potential for the winery or restaurant or something like that up in that area that then could focus down into the woods from there. And this was a good example of something like that, where materials and textures kind of came out of nature. And also when you're inside, outside, they have a good synergy between them. When we started thinking about style of architecture, one of the terms that comes up in there is a word called vernacular architecture. Vernacular architecture, what it means is that you take the style of the architecture from the history of the place that it's from, okay? And in this area, one of the things about this area, or actually all through Ohio, one of the typologies is an architectural, has to do with agriculture and rural areas, whether it be barns or the shapes themselves. So the vernacular of generally a good portion of Ohio and through the region here, if we look at vernacular, would have shapes that would go along with this, would have textures that would go along with this, materials that would go along with these styles. So we said at the core of the project, when we start thinking about style, should we do something that builds from a rural environment? We stay with that as the theme for the project and create that as part of the brand. When we get into it, to how you're building today, we don't expect we're going to build a barn and put mail pouch on the side of it, but we can do things that relate to the characteristics of those pieces. And so some examples of it in the lower left corner is the winery that we did, and that was part of that idea of vernacular architecture, done a little bit different contemporary style, but all the examples on here, like the top left one there, it's kind of has the shape. It's more of a glass box inside of it. So the pieces have remembrance of it and have respect for it and reverence for it, but then take it and say we are current in this age a little bit too. So that's kind of what we started thinking about in terms of architectural style, was building off of vernacular architecture that would come along. Earlier I mentioned the goal isn't to take and do something that's already been here, but think what things could supplement it, and what things have been said previously about things that would be nice to have in Hinckley. And that's actually one of the drivers for the owners in the project itself was, what can we do to add to that to make Hinckley a stronger place? And so on the hospitality side, restaurants, cafes, pizzas, delis, there's already breweries there. And a winery piece could be a nice setting piece too. On the service side, it could be some professional offices, also some co-work space, shared space where people can work together. And there's a whole side of this project too that talks about trying to create places for people to like incubator spaces for people to start businesses, or co-work spaces where people can get out of their houses and do things which become more and more necessary now. So that's kind of our service side of that was there. Residential, we talked about maybe there's some second floor apartments above here. I felt like that this region could have that be a reasonable thing to look at. And then the retail side, again, generally pretty specialty stores, ice cream shops, bakery, could be wine and cheese specialties, bridal wedding stores, home goods, local market, butcher art studio. So things that would enhance the daily life of people in Hinckley, but also could bring some traffic in from outside areas where people would want to go for a destination piece to say, I love that little store there, and I want to go there, and I want to go out to eat there, and as part of the community. And then we have the outdoor space that I mentioned. That was one of the big drivers when we started. It was how do we create a place where people can be a park, a garden. You could have farmers markets, art fairs, pumpkin festivals, showed on there, from cornhole tournaments or whatever that is. So I think we do things that bring people together, allow them to socialize and be a part of it. And potentially an amphitheater too. The property does a little slope down to it, and we thought double music and those type of events could be nice to add into there too. So you can come spend an afternoon. So site plan concept wise, what we started looking at on here then is, again, the darker green is the whole property. Is on this plan, the existing buildings down here were remaining. Our plan would be to renovate those and bring those into an architectural character that would align with the downtown. And then this one, you can see we end up doing a large park in the middle here. And so this would be that public park area to do events. It could also be an area for a restaurant or a cafe to spill out onto here, and people could come in or get ice cream and hang out. And this plan, you can see we made it very visible from Ridge Road, so it interacts with Ridge Road. People can see activity and they can see life on it. This next plan we're going to show you, we moved it back in a little bit. But this one we wanted to play out the idea of what if we did bring that to the forefront, so you could see things that were happening in here coming in, and then potentially adding another building along the side, along the south side, bring parking in, and then come all the way, bring to the back into here and set the winery in the back there. I mentioned, I showed you the picture of one winery. It might kind of come down the hill a little bit. That could be a nice spot for something like that to sit, and then take advantage of the green area in the middle here. It's a little bit lower, and maybe there could be an amphitheater in there, walking trails coming through the green area here. And so that was our first one of the concepts we looked at, and that idea. But again, focused mostly on what can we do to create that space, that public place that people can use. And our idea then we mix that with our uses that we want to have. Specifically, our goal since we're starting it, we have the ability to curate what comes in the products in here, and that's what we want to make sure we're very curated and choose what comes in here that aligns with that vision. We don't need every tenant. These spaces aren't that big, so we can choose which ones we want to have in that way, which one have a synergy with them. The second plan here, what this one looked at doing was, again, keeping the existing buildings across the front, and then adding another building across the streetscape to kind of reinforce the front edge a little bit, the road edge. Okay. And this one, and the result of that then is the public area comes back into the property a little bit, so it's not as visible. So the positive could be we strengthen the road edge. The negative of we take some of the things that might be nice to come by and see, and we bring those inward now. So this one brought it inward. Again, similar with the idea of the parking coming back up around the backside, winery or type of restaurant, some sort of venue like that on the backside here, still the amphitheater. And still maybe another space that could open up, this was a cafe, could open up looking into that area too. So those were a couple ones that we started at. We played out another 50 of these or something like that, but these are a couple of the ones that started just to ring a little bit as to positively reinforcing the street edge or the positive of seeing activity and being part of the town in that way versus a tuck behind. So that's where we've gotten to at this point. Again, this is just, we're still in a concept age, starting to think what fits right, what programs fit right. But that we wanted to give you kind of a snapshot of what we've been thinking on our end and the things that we're driving our thought process.
Thank you. Are you leaning more towards one?
I go back and forth. This is seeing the green is a pretty strong feature. You could see activity and see people when you're coming by and letting if these are some restaurants and cafes that seating out onto the green area, that's a pretty strong feature. We understand totally, sometimes you want to create that street edge. Either way, we want to pull the parking behind, so we're not looking at parking and making a big lot there. So it felt like that was a good start. But to be honest, went back and forth on both of those is what's the strongest way to do it. We still need to assess the existing buildings and say, can they be renovated enough to fit into the architectural character that we want to have? Or do they need to be changed, or do they need to come down? We don't know all that yet at all. But that's an assessment that needs to get done too, right now.
Have you done anything looking at any problems that might arise out of traffic patterns if it should become popular? And
the amount of traffic in here and the times of day and the uses, we felt like that was going to separate itself off in some way, meaning the day uses versus the winery, probably going to be more night uses. There wouldn't be enough traffic coming in and out at that point. So we felt like that part would take care of itself. Even the parking counts or something that you get into it. We look and say, is there some overlap or some synergies? Maybe we don't have to put as much parking. And if we say this is going to get used here and there, we could have a plan to supplement parking, or if it's a larger event. We want this to be part of the town, as maybe if we're hosting something that maybe the church parking would be part of something they could use. Maybe it can't be. Maybe they can use our parking if they needed to, and they're doing something bigger, but instead of trying to pave everything, is there a way to do that? But we did feel like a lot of things are going to be a lot of time. Now, if there was a band or something like that there, then maybe at that point, maybe it does require an off-duty officer or something like that to man. If there's something really big that ended at a certain time, that a lot of people are leaving at one time, but the rest of them, most of them are going to be people increment, smaller coming in out of the restaurant, 2 people leave, or 4 people leave, or 6 people leave. So we did feel like that wouldn't be the issue, and we didn't want to overbuild the site. We were trying really consciously not to add more to it. We could easily put a lot more on the property. That's not our goal either. Our goal wasn't to overwhelm it. Although it's just think, what's a nice critical mass of things that will make a very nice. If we did one thing, that wouldn't be enough critical mass. But if we do 3 or 4 things, that's kind of felt like the buffer wouldn't very amount of weight to make something that would be great.
Now, I know Mr. Gaffney had mentioned possibly some additional properties also. How does that impact this? Would that just be built onto with this, or if he were to get additional properties, could that restructure?
It could, absolutely. Again, these are just real preliminary ideas.
Sure.
Now, there's a lot of things that we need to just ourselves. There's engineering. There's a whole bunch of things that need to get figured out for this to happen. If that were to happen, it might be a completely different plan. It wouldn't change in terms of we want a public green space. It wouldn't change in terms of we want people to interact and socialize. It wouldn't change in anything that we gave in that first part of the presentation at all. Those are some core things that we felt like they would be really strong to have. It would might just say that where it goes and how it configures might change.
Okay.
But again, it's not a matter of trying to come in and build, monster retail center. That's not it. That's nobody wants that, and we don't want that, and that's not why they asked us to get involved in the project. The idea was to say what's the nice scale of things that fit here, and if there were more properties available, it might be just looking to say how do we use the property even more. But it doesn't necessarily need to be more program or more uses. We felt like in this amount of things, we probably have a pretty good amount of things that we want to do on the property.
I just want to take a second to thank Mr. and Mrs. Gaffney, because this is a very community-minded project. I think that the synergy reflects Hinckley, and that we have a lot of green space in the concept, as well as potential uses that a lot of our residents are looking for in town center. So thank you to them for proposing this concept.
No, it's neat. As an architect, I was so excited when they started talking about they wanted to do, like, oh my gosh, you're not wanting to rip everything down and
Right.
It's like, that's not what we do as a firm. We wouldn't be the right company if that
Right.
was it. But to do this, it's like, this is a unique opportunity.
Mhm.
It's a unique opportunity for Hinckley. So
It's a very unique opportunity for Hinckley.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to be excited over the possibilities.
Yeah. Good. Good.
Thank you, David.
Excellent. Thanks.
If I may share this with you, and come to the
Brian with a Y.
Brian with a Y. A few of the things that
Thank you,
we
sir.
talked about tonight. And we can leave more at the door for folks to grab as they.
Thank you.
need to. So, thank you so much for the opportunity. to share
Thank
this
you.
with
This is not old guy friendly. It's very light print.
I didn't design this, I promise you. I'm with you.
We'll have to magnify
It's
that. You'll be
tiny.
okay.
Good. Mr. Chairman, Bethany Detweiler is here to kind of talk a little bit about her conversations that she's had as it pertains to this project.
Gatler,
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, did I say it wrong? Detweiler,
welcome.
different name on my special guest agenda.
Just want to, I guess, follow up a little bit on some of the questions that may arise as you think about this development and how it could work and how it could financially work. Obviously, one of the key elements in making something like this succeed is making sure the proper infrastructure is in place. And so for a project of this scale, public water has been a question that I was approached about by Mr. Gaffney. And so started looking into it, had some conversations with him about what he proposed and, what are the potential capital investments that he's investing in, what the value of those investments would be, so that we could try to figure out a way to bring public water to make this project a reality without costing the township or other residents. And there's an economic development tool that I just wanted to bring to your attention that I think could be relevant to the conversation as you move forward in consideration and planning. And it's a tool called tax increment financing. So what it does is it helps to pay for public infrastructure, new public infrastructure, by redirecting a portion of the increase in real property taxes that result from new real property investment. So it could be a brand new building that's constructed that gets brand new real property taxes. It could be the renovation of an existing building that significantly increases or creates an increment in new taxes. So there's brand new taxes that are now available. This tax increment financing tool is created by Ohio Revised Code, so there's a certain structure that needs to be followed, but it can be put into place by a township, by a county. And the way it would basically work, and I'm going to use some hypothetical numbers here, but let's say that the new structures that are constructed at full build out has about $15 million worth of value. I took that estimate and plugged it into a formula to estimate what the new annual property taxes would be, real property taxes. The tax increment financing program allows a community to create we'll call it a TIF district at the 10-year 75% level, which means 75% of those taxes would be redirected into a TIF fund for 10 years. This would be a program that the township could put into place by itself. Anything above that 75% 10-year level would have to also be approved by the local school board. Try to keep the school boards out of it so that they don't need to worry about all of that. But this is a tool that the township could put in place. So here's how it would work. The township would have to work ahead of time with the developer to create a TIF district. I would recommend hiring a public finance specialist, which I called to get this information. The Port Authority works with Baker Tilly and Brian does a great job in helping break down complex ideas into easy to understand structures. So bring on a financial advisor, you'll have to hire attorneys. Those costs could be recouped by the township in the form of a developer agreement. So basically, the developer is going to cover all the upfront costs in the proposal that in the structure that I would propose. So the township would create this special TIF district, create an agreement, and I'll go into more detail about what that agreement could look like in a moment. Basically, the TIF structure is in place. The developer then begins constructing the buildings. New taxes then get charged. The developer, the township would file this TIF with the county auditor and the state. The TIF agreement would have to identify the parcels, the specific parcels that are part of the TIF agreement. Then the developer, once the structures are taxed, the developer would write a check for property taxes. Because the agreement would be filed with the county auditor now has an agreement that instructs him what to do with those taxes. So let's say it's at 75% for 10 years. He will take the 75% of the check that he gets from the developer and redirect it back to the township. So the township will have to create a special revenue fund for the TIF. So according to the agreement, the developer then would get reimbursed by the township through this fund. Basically, the check that he just wrote, he would get 75% back of it, but it would be a repayment to him for having invested that whatever the cost of the infrastructure is up front. So let's assume it's $1.5 million. So for up to 10 years, whatever new taxes are generated, he would get repaid for the initial investment up until the point that his investment is completely paid off. It may be before the 10-year mark, depends on what the buildings are valued at. Generally, the township is going to want to see a projection of what are you going to build when, and you can create the TIF to basically begin on a rolling basis. So building A is constructed and the TIF can begin on that parcel. So you could begin to recollect some of those taxes. Building B is built and then another 10-year clock would start. Building C and then another 10-year clock. This would enable him to maximize the value of the TIF district. But it would allow the township to bring public water to this particular property at no cost to other residents. We could work with the county sanitary engineer to make an arrangement where if there are other people along that line that want to tap in, they would be able to tap in. They wouldn't have to, there wouldn't be a cost to them. The cost of the public infrastructure would be borne by the developer, and the increased value of those properties then would be able to reimburse him for those upfront costs, because that infrastructure will eventually be dedicated to the public. So, it's probably the simplest way I can think of to fund this kind of public infrastructure and incentivize new tax generating economic development. So at the end of the time period when all of the costs are reimbursed, then it would go back to the full 100% tax rate. So more details, but that's basically how TIFs work in a nutshell. If it's something you're interested in exploring, maybe in combination with the developer, I would highly recommend, I would be happy to facilitate a meeting with our public finance specialist so that he can walk you through in more detail and help you understand all of the nuances of how this kind of program would work.
Right, thank you very much.
It's very good. Thank you for being here, Bethany. I'm
Have
not
a
going
good
to
night.
say your last name again.
It would sound German.
Got a different one here, I swear. Actually, do you mind if I move really quick to my first two motions on my agenda while Bethany is still here?
Go ahead.
In conversation with Bethany and had an idea that in order to best serve the township as we prepare for the annexation hearing, we should really do our due diligence and rescind the first motion as it pertains to the CRA and revote.
Yeah, I had sent that email to you guys that I copied the attorney on last week, so that's why I had that on my agenda as well, because I had spoken to Bethany as well. So I checked with the attorney to make sure that we could revote on the same resolution, which the answer was yes.
So at this time, I'd like to make a motion to rescind resolution 060722-01, authorizing the township to support a community reinvestment area agreement and community reinvestment area compensation agreement with Isomer Group Incorporated.
This is the one that did not pass.
Correct.
Right.
From June 7th. As you can tell by the resolution number.
So we're in effect saying we didn't pass this resolution. Now we want to rescind it. Is that correct?
Correct. I've made it known. I made it known back in September that I had a change of heart on this and I would like to revote. And I think that it would show a better standing for Hinckley Township in the hearing.
Second.
Seconded by Sweattick. Can we do a roll call, please?
Swedick,
Yes.
Asherle,
Yes.
Augustine.
Yes. And at this time, I would like to make a motion for resolution authorizing the township to support a community reinvestment area agreement and community reinvestment area compensation agreement with Isomer Group, Inc. Whereas Medina County Board of Commissioners has previously authorized designation of community reinvestment area number 5 within Hinckley Township for the encouragement of development of real property and the acquisition of personal property located in the community reinvestment area by resolution number 95-631. And whereas Isomer Group, Inc. is desirous of constructing an expansion to a manufacturing building to be located within said community reinvestment area. Whereas the Hinckley Township Board of Trustees is desirous of providing Isomer Group Incorporated with said incentives available for the development of a project in the Hinckley Township Community Reinvestment Area number 5 pursuant to section 3735 of the Ohio Revised Code. Whereas the Hinckley Township Board of Trustees is also desirous of supporting a resolution by the Medina County Board of Commissioners to enter into community reinvestment area agreement and a community reinvestment area compensation agreement with Isomer Group, Inc. to accomplish these goals. Now therefore be it ordained by the Hinckley Township Board of Trustees, Medina County, Ohio. Number 1, the Board of Trustees supports the Medina County Board of Commissioners to enter into a community reinvestment area agreement with Isomer Group, Inc. pursuant to the terms set forth in Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part hereof. 2, the Board of Trustees supports the Medina County Board of Commissioners to enter into a community reinvestment area compensation agreement with Isomer Group, Inc. as approved by the Brunswick City Schools District pursuant to the terms set forth in Exhibit B attached hereto and made part of hereof.
I am going to abstain from this vote as Drug Mart is now a direct customer of mine. So a conflict exists.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Asherle, I'm sorry, Sweattick,
Yes.
Augustine.
Yes. So Bethany, if we could take that back, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Is the health department here in official capacity this evening? Would you like to speak?
Hello, how are you?
Well, not to this, although I find it very interesting, all the things that are happening. in Houston.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't sign in, but I will sign in for
Oh,
you before I go. I just didn't want to interrupt your meeting.
You're too famous. You don't have to.
Good evening. I just wanted to stop by tonight. Our district advisory council meeting met earlier in the year, and we released our annual report. I wanted to bring that, instead of dropping it in the mail, I just thought I'd stop in, give you a chance. If there's anything you wanted to ask me about the health department, the annual report is in front of you. The theme, prevent, promote, protect, really highlights the mission of the health department. There's an insert in there for you. I just wanted to note, as you looked at that, we did have 16,000 COVID infections reported to us, but they're not included in the total on there. It's noted as a footnote at the bottom. We did that because we wanted to reflect accurately the percentages of disease burden we have for everything else that we do. Our everyday job we do for you as the health department, over 70 reported diseases that come into us. So you'll see in there, gonorrhea and chlamydia still at the top. Although we did have at the end of the year, we did have a rather rough start to our flu season. We had a hospital-related influenza-related hospitalizations, and that number actually exceeded one of our STIs. The one thing that isn't in there that I wanted to draw attention to in particular, on the back page, you do have the top 5 causes of death in the county last year. They were heart disease, cancer, COVID-19, chronic lung, which is like your asthma, your emphysemas, your COPDs, and then Alzheimer's. But the one thing that isn't there are unintentional deaths. And that was something that was actually in our top 5 the previous year. So I just wanted to make note of that. Our suicide deaths, our overdose deaths, they were slightly lower last year, not really where we want them to be, certainly as a community. Living Well Medina County is back operational. The committee is meeting, really looking at those things that are really affecting our health, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, things like that. Our health center is open. I just wanted to remind you of that. We have full primary care. If you have residents that don't have primary care, we have full-time physician, we have a full-time dentist, hygienist. We love to be able to take care of folks. We take all the Medicaid plans, we take the Medicare Advantage plans, a lot of the traditional insurances, they're all there. We have had staffing changes, so if you call the health department, I'm still there. We have a lot of other people who are as well, but we had over a dozen retirements that occurred in the last couple of years. So,
Wow.
and then we had people moving out of public health, but we have a lot of young staff, some really energetic health educators and folks coming on board. So you can reach us the same way. Our contact information is right there in the report for you. On the back are our finances. You'll see that our expenses exceeded our revenue last year, but a lot of that was some of that one-time funding at the end of the previous year and how those things go. We're just very fiscally conservative. We appreciate the support for our levy last year. That'll give us some stability moving into the future. So I won't give you all my remarks from that evening, but I just wanted to stop in, like I said, and see you in person. It's been a while. I haven't seen some of you guys. So, and if there's anything that you have for me or any questions that you have, I'd be happy to answer them.
I do have a
Tiny
quick,
little traps to use for mosquitoes.
I know, they're actually rather large traps. We have a
They're
whole program for that. We hire interns that come out and do it.
Oh, they have to.
Yeah, they do, yeah. It's actually an interesting process. We have a partnership with our county parks. We do a lot of our traps in our county parks. And that way we test them for West Nile. We send them down to the state, do that. We do a lot of tick identification as well for residents, sure.
do you guys do any QPR training? Just curious, because
We-
you've seen the reduction of those numbers.
Yeah. That's a great program. It's occurring in the county. We actually brought in QPR for our entire staff. And then we sponsored mental health first aid, and then we've sponsored QPR as well.
Okay,
And that's one of the projects and initiatives of Living Well Medina County.
okay,
It's one of their goal programs that they're working on.
very good.
Absolutely.
Well, as always, I thank you for all that you do because our health department is so important to our county. And I think oftentimes people don't understand the full capacity of what you do. So thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you, Krista.
Chief.
How are you guys doing tonight?
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. First is request to enter in a 1-year HVAC maintenance agreement with Jackson Heating and Cooling at a cost not to exceed $804. Excuse me, for Plan 2, which includes 1 heating complete maintenance visit and 1 cooling complete maintenance visit effective April 1, 2023 to March 31st, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Is this, is there, because I know we use Precision.
We use this one because they specifically work with our heating and cooling company. Yeah, that we tried doing that and there were some issues before with it. So we went with them.
Because you guys have so many weird zones.
Yeah, but so just really quick. So last year, if you remember, we went to 2 thermostats. It's been fantastic because we were able to turn them off last couple of days to open the windows and allow the fresh air. So it seems to be working a lot better and it's not constantly running like that zone system had been doing.
Perfect.
Have you guys spent that much time at the department?
No, not in the last couple of days. No.
On the road a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yes.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Next is enter into a 1-year service apparatus Schedule B agreement with WW Williams for engine 31, engine 31-2, and tanker 32 at a cost not to exceed $5,800 for all 3 vehicles. The Schedule B includes bumper to bumper inspection, filters, fluid change, pump testing, and our ground ladder testing that's required for us.
So moved.
Second. And they're all done at different times.
Yes, there's everything staggered
Why
through the
didn't you
next
call me
couple
about
months.
that?
Do you do any other quotes on these, Chief?
No, they're the closest place to get the truck sent up there. The next one is down in Cuyahoga Falls.
Because
And they have to have a-
saw a quote for something over at police that was crazy high.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's,
These testing and all that have to be done by they have to be emergency vehicle technicians. Yeah. The only other place is down in Cuyahoga Falls.
Yeah.
So this is nice because it's right up the street.
okay, moving seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Next is request to move firefighter EMT Brandon Cerisi and Craig Burrows from cadet pay of $14.78 per hour to their full pay of $16.23 per the organizational minutes effective April 2nd.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
That went fast.
I sent I gave you guys the report. We had 186 calls for the first part of the quarter. 62% were EMS. Our average response time was 7 minutes, 48 seconds. We had 27 overlapping calls. We gave mutual aid 11 times and we received mutual aid 8 times. Down at the bottom, you can see all the different hospitals we went to. And then we had 1 cardiac arrest, 2 traumas, stroke alerts, and 1 behavioral psych. We had our inspectors did 44 inspections and 3 hood inspections. And we also had 541 hours worth of training, 120.45 hours were EMS, 145 hours were driver and pump operations, and then 275 were fire ground operations. We still had 15 calls into the station, which is kind of our average, and we added 2 new walk-ins to the station, which was the first time in a while for walk-in calls. I strongly suggest everybody please call 911. As our Saturday, we weren't in the station for over 8 hours. So if you needed something, the phone would just ring and ring and ring. So please call 911 because the dispatchers obviously can radio us and get a hold of us. I would also like to publicly thank the police department on Saturday for backing us up and running calls and assisting with all the storm damage. They helped out a lot with blocking roads or getting us barricades or picking barricades up, and even getting ahead of us on a couple calls and getting some of the tree and debris moved before we could get there. We were running 3 vehicles, the engine, myself, and Sean. Assistant Chief Barrett came in and we were running all over the township.
You all did
And
a
we're ready
phenomenal job.
tomorrow too. I'm putting an additional person on during the afternoons because of the projected storms. So last Saturday, we ran 16 calls in about 6 hours. This past Saturday, we did 10 calls in 2 hours. The previous Saturday, it was a lot of just trees down. We came, cut it and all that. This past Saturday, we had a lot of power lines down, intermingled with trees or just down. So I know there's a lot of guys and gals that can use chainsaws. Please be careful. I strongly suggest not just going out and cutting trees that you see maybe blocking roads. I know you're trying to help, but if there's power lines down, I can't tell if the power line is energized or not. Just because it's not arcing and sparking does not mean it's not energized. Because we had to block King Road for a while because it was wires were intermingled in there. But the police department did great and my guys did great. I bought them pizza for sitting out on State Road for
You
6
deserve more
hours.
than that.
Well,
guys-
thank you all for
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of your work. I saw you zipping by.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys all
yeah.
did a fantastic.
And then Sunday we did 6 or 7 calls, including a horse assist and a dumpster fire.
At least the horse didn't walk into the station.
No, it did not, or didn't call into the station either.
No, thank you, and good luck for tomorrow. for
Yeah,
both of
looking
you.
forward to it.
Jack and Melissa, just as an FYI for you both, Jess is going to be here on Tuesday during our work session. He has requested that he go first. He wants to discuss some possible options with a tanker and an engine.
Tanker purchase, since we were not successful in getting any grants, we have to look to move forward to purchasing the tanker.
Okay.
So it's just. an
So it's just
FYI.
some discussion on it, share some ideas.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Anything else for the chief?
That's all I have.
Are you looking to depart?
I am.
Anybody in the audience have anything for the chief?
Thank you very much, guys. Be safe. Yep.
Chief.
Be careful tomorrow if anybody's out.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Mr. Barry?
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good evening.
Good. How are you?
I've only got one thing on my list. It's to ask you guys if we can participate in the ODOT 2023-2024 SALT contract participation. The resolution sitting there. We're gonna ask for 900 tons this year. We had a little bit over abundancy this year, but it all fit in the shed. So we're gonna drop that order from 1,000 down to 900. But if you guys are okay with that, if I can get everyone to sign it.
This is their standard resolution, Martha. Can I read the title on it, Jess?
Yeah,
Okay. Move to enter in resolution authorizing participation in the Ohio Department of Transportation road salt contracts awarded in 2023.
Second,
and you need to add the 900 ton, the amount.
900
For
You
900
indicate
tons.
the amount.
for
Is that
9.
on here?
No, that gets all electronically. It's just. this
You're
was-
authorizing.
Yeah.
You're authorizing the 900 tons.
For the
that's how we
purchase
get
of
our
900 tons.
Yeah.
second as amended.
Seconded by Asherle, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think because it's a resolution, we have to vote
I'm sorry.
individually.
Sweattick,
Yes.
Asherle,
Yes.
Augustine.
Yes.
I don't remember that last year. We signed it
Mhm.
after.
Yeah, we do it once a year.
Okay.
Get on their pricing.
Are we signing this though?
Yes.
Oh, we're not. Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to submit everything electronically with the signed resolution to ODOT.
Gotcha.
Do you want this back, Mike?
Yes, please. Do you want me to make you guys copies?
Yes, please.
Who may come to you? Thank you.
Pass that down to the gentleman.
And that's all I have for tonight. I know Jack, you have something on yours. Do you want me to stay for that for the participation in the other ODOT contract?
It's your choice. It's just a standard.
Yeah.
I have one thing on my agenda that I can do real quick.
Yeah.
I had conversation with ODOT and I just wanted to let the trustees know that they are looking into the traffic study at Hinckley Elementary. I had another complaint last week that somebody was coming up over the hill and there was a line of traffic, and ODOT has assured me that that is a Highland Schools issue and how they route their traffic. But they are looking into doing that traffic study that we had talked about last year, as well as signage at the intersection of Stony Hill and 606 to say that cross traffic does not stop. And that is a high accident area. I know Police Chief Setner has looked into that area before, but that was something that we had discussed last year and they are working on it.
Now we'll go right into that resolution. You have a copy of the resolution to participate in the ODOT Cooperative Purchasing Program that I sent to you in your packets. This is to allow purchase of a vehicle through ODOT. We have to pass that before we can participate in the program. So I move for resolution authorizing participation in the ODOT Cooperative Purchasing Program, where section 5513.01B provides for the opportunity for counties, townships, municipal corporations, conservancy districts, township, park districts created under chapter 1545 of the revised code, port authorities, regional transit authorities, regional airport authorities, regional water and sewer districts, county transit boards, state universities, or colleges to participate in contracts of the Ohio Department of Transportation for the purchase of machinery, materials, supplies, or other articles. Now therefore be it resolved by the Hinckley Township Board of Trustees that section 1, that the Hinckley Township Board of Trustees hereby requests authority in the name of the Hinckley Township to participate in the Ohio Department of Transportation contracts for the purchase of machinery, materials, supplies, and other articles which the department has entered into pursuant to Ohio Revised Code section 5513.01B. Section 2, that the Hinckley Township Board of Trustees is hereby authorized to agree in the name of Hinckley Township to be bound by all terms and conditions as the Director of Transportation prescribes. Section 3, that the Hinckley Township Board of Trustees is hereby authorized to agree in the name of Hinckley Township to direct the Hinckley Township Fiscal Officer to directly pay vendors under each such contract of the Ohio Department of Transportation in which Hinckley Township participates for item it receives pursuant to the contract. Section 4, that the Hinckley Township Board of Trustees agrees to be responsible for resolving all claims or disputes arising out of its participation in the cooperative purchasing program under section 5513.01B of the Ohio Revised Code. The Hinckley Township Board of Trustees agrees to waive any claims, actions, expenses, or other damages arising out of its participation in the cooperative purchasing program, which the Hinckley Township Board of Trustees may have or claim to have against ODOT or its employees, unless such liability is a result of negligence on the part of ODOT or its employees.
Second.
Seconded by Asherle. Call the roll?
Sweattick?
Yes,
Asherle?
Yes.
Augustine?
Yes.
thank you. Anything else from Michael? Anyone from the audience for service? Okay. Have a good evening.
You guys too.
Night,
Thank you.
Mike.
Thank you.
With the zoning.
So really quick, I have the resolution that we spoke about and I presented last meeting for 25 River Road. The trustees had time to review the resolution, have conversation with council.
Yes. So a couple of things that I found going back through emails from the past and going through everything that you sent last week is we kept talking about the smell, and we had a resident get up and talk about what was going on, that he thinks it was maybe more of a backed up septic system. So I contacted the Medina County Health Department and spoke with someone in the environmental department, and they explained to me that because the township cannot do anything about the septic, we can't take care of someone's septic system for them. So the best way to do that is, and I made a copy for everybody and anyone who's interested in the audience also, you would need to file a nuisance complaint with the Medina County Health Department, and that's what really opens it up for them so that they can start investigating that to see if they can take any action to help with the septic issues, because that is a county issue and that's not something that the township can do. I also spoke with Chief Sentner. I spoke with a resident who was here last week at the meeting, and I think that we need to dig a little bit deeper before we are moving forward with this. If there are claims, which I have not been able to get the information yet for Chief Sentner to look into, but if this resident did in fact, hold a family member at gunpoint, this is something I'm not comfortable sending anyone from the township to this property to go and, do any more deep digging. So I think we need to do a little bit more research on that before we move forward with anything.
So in the resolution, it states that on May 1st, 2020, the Medina County Health Department obtained a default judgment permanent injunction ordering the owner to abate the solid waste public health nuisance by removing all of the old garden tractors, miscellaneous household type items, scrap metal items, refuge, garbage, and other solid waste located on the property. Medina County Health Department has already touched this.
Well, I also spoke with prosecutor's office, Heidi Carroll,
Yes.
and I asked her about that, about obtaining estimates that we can't get on the property. And she informed me that the health department still has access to the property because of that. And my question is to her was, why isn't the health department taking any action on their part? Because that's the court order that's already been violated. And she said that would have to be taken up with the health department. So if the health department and an entity can do that, why are we absorbing that cost? Why are we doing it?
We do
In the
not
mean-
absorb cost at all.
In the meantime, I have asked the zoning office to please obtain some kind of preliminary cost estimate to do the cleanup, whether it's somebody looking at those photographs and giving us a cost based on what they see there. That's at least a starting point.
Well, we gave Tom Zablotny, our zoning staff member, an okay to move forward on this on June 28th, 2022, last June. If the cost was an issue, I wish that we would have asked him to pursue this level at that time. Just for the public to understand, we as a township do not incur costs. Any costs that we do incur is put back on the property owner's taxes. It's an assessment to their taxes. So the township never incurs costs when it comes to a cleanup. And as I've stated publicly several times, this man has been in violation and working with our zoning department for over 10 years. We get phone calls all the time from people who say, how come you can't have this person clean up their mess outside their house or outside their business or whatnot? And if we cannot take our zoning resolution and implement it, what is the purpose of it?
We would have to outlay those funds up front. They would be incrementally recovered over the course of who knows how many years, 20 years? We don't, because we don't know what it will cost.
We did have conversation about this at the last meeting, and the prosecutor's office has seen an increase in scrap metal pricing.
Yes, and she told me the value would be about $600 per vehicle. That's not enough to do that cleanup. Nowhere near it.
I can't remember the number that you threw out at the last meeting, 50,000.
I said it could be 50, it could be 100,000. Looking at those photographs, you don't know.
So our health department is supposed, or I'm sorry, our zoning department is supposed to take pictures, aerial pictures, and determine what the cost analysis will be based on aerial pictures. We're not going to.
The prosecutor's office said that they provided him with enough information on salvage operators and cleanup companies to go and request estimates. That's what I was told by Heidi in the prosecutor's office. And like I said, I talked with Tom earlier last week and asked him to proceed with getting some cost estimates.
That's fine. The resolution sits, the gentleman sits for another year or 2 or 3. He has not been compliant, and he's been notified multiple times in multiple ways. And as I said at the last meeting, I even went to his door. We had the whole community. I had phone calls from the community saying, we want to help this man clean up his property. This is the last ditch effort in doing that. It's just creating this resolution so that he has the ability to come before us in a hearing and explain to us what
And what
is
did he say when
happening.
you talked to him?
I didn't speak to him.
Oh.
He didn't answer the door. He hasn't been answering any letters. He hasn't been answering anything, which is why the resolution is necessary to move forward.
All right, when Tom gives me the estimates, then I'll look at it.
Moving on, we've got a motion for Tom Zablotny to attend OTA training on May 24th. Zoning inspectors webinar, rehabbing zoning ordinances. Does yours need an intervention in the amount of $30?
Second.
Seconded by Asherle, all in favor?
Aye. And just for the public's knowledge, Arbor Crest has some new lots that they're trying to create, and that will be at the Medina County Planning Commission tomorrow evening at 6:30 in Medina Square.
Can I go back to the River Road property? I think Suzanne had requested that the title search be done on that. And it was tabled at the last meeting, but I think she feels that it's important to do it irregardless. So that's not delaying or anything impacts any future resolution. I know you tabled that last year.
We did, and council asked me about it because we didn't have a decision. I didn't feel comfortable moving forward with it.
Well, if there's anything different that a title search shows, if you do it after the fact, then you're going to have to rescind your resolution due to changes in the property. So that's why I think it was suggested to do that. I think it's $100, but it appears to be $100 well spent. to not delay it if you guys decide to move ahead. If
I-
in fact there are any changes
I'm gonna
in ownership.
table that because I believe that we did do a title search
We did, it was 2 years
with
ago.
Chris Kalina.
It was 2 years ago. And Heidi has told Suzanne, at least, I'm not sure if you were part of that conversation, but Heidi has said that initially she said she thought it could stand, but then she indicated she feels that a more current title search should be done, just for the very fact that if there's any changes in ownership over the last 2 years on that property, then this isn't valid.
It's
Any
a
motion,
flat
any
100.
resolutions you make on this is not valid, and you will have to rescind it based on the current ownership. I'm not
It's a
saying
flat
that
$100.
It is.
It is, it's $100.
So at this time, I'd like to make a motion for a title search in the amount of $100 for the vehicles on 25 River Road.
And there was a vendor on that, I think.
I don't have it in front of me.
I do, it was Centennial Title Agency
Oh,
LLC.
that's right. To Centennial Title Agency LLC.
Second as amended.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can you give me that name one more time, please?
Centennial Title Agency LLC.
Thank you.
The public street.
Absolutely.
Curious. on
Would
the
you mind
property.
coming to the podium just so that the virtual audience can hear? These microphones don't work in this room. They actually work for our virtual audience.
Curious, does anybody know what the vehicles are on that property?
They
They do.
vary.
Most of them, yes.
Are they rehabable?
We don't know.
That was a question.
Thank you. I do not have anything for cemeteries, Mr. Chairman. Can I just move forward with my rest of my agenda?
Sure.
Perfect. So trustee corner and newsletter. After the motion that was made at the 2 meetings ago, that all trustees have to agree to every single thing that is put out in
It never
the
said all trustees. ma'am.
Hinckley record, the Board of Trustees put out into the Hinckley record and the newsletter. We came across some conflict as it pertained to the newsletter, which I started in 2020 and send out every single month at the beginning of the month. I create it myself. And we couldn't send it out because it wasn't approved by the board as per the motion. So I'm gonna just say that I feel that we are limiting our transparency. That's just my opinion. And that I feel that this is censorship and that we should just eliminate the trustee corner and the newsletter completely. We cannot sit here and debate over what should be in the trustee corner and the newsletter every month. So waste of taxpayers' time, money, and energy.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw your draft for the newsletter because you completely changed the format that you've had with the newsletter since you started doing it. It's always been just a cut and paste job from the trustees corner, goes right into the newsletter, which I had assumed that was going to be the case moving forward. And you had sent us a draft of a completely different trustees corner than what had been previously approved that went into the Hinckley record.
Well, it wasn't actually a trustee corner. It was me just notifying both trustees that because of the motion that was made, we couldn't actually publish the newsletter because at the special meeting, you both made a decision to go ahead and send out the trustees corner to the Hinckley record, but the newsletter was never mentioned. Therefore, according to your motion, the newsletter could not include the trustees corner.
Okay, I just feel like it's semantics, to be honest with you. I would say, let's just move forward that doing what we've been doing is past practice. Whatever is the trustees corner goes under the trustees corner in the newsletter. And I don't think any additional conversation needs to be had about it.
Well, then the motion should change.
I don't know that the motion should change.
It says any correspondence.
I know that you gave us a trustees corner. One of the things that I was going to talk about tonight was my Memorial Day article that I sent out every single year to the Hinckley Record. And I realized after I sent it out to Script Type Publishing that I couldn't send it out because the motion prohibits me. The board has to vote on it. So I sent it to you via email today. One of the things that was in your draft trustee corner, Trustee Asherle, was that Memorial Day parade. And there's a full article that I do every year specific to that. So I don't think it's noteworthy for the trustees corner.
When did you send that?
At 5:24 p.m. My internet's been down, so I apologize. I can read it for everyone. The Hinckley Memorial Day Parade, because you're going to need to know anyway, will be held on Monday, May 29th, 2023 at 9 a.m. The parade will begin at Our Lady of Grace Catholic Church at 1088 Ridge Road and will proceed to the Veteran War Memorial Park for wreath flying ceremony and a moment of silence, at which time the parade will continue to its final destination at the Administration Building at 1410 Ridge Road for the final ceremony. This year's guest speaker will be newly appointed Medina County Commissioner Aaron Harrison. The ceremony will include the award for Citizen of the Year, scouts, local pastors, Hinckley Band and Singers, the Hinckley Board of Trustees, fiscal officer, police, fire, and service. At the conclusion of the ceremony, refreshments will be served by members of Hinckley Women's Club and donuts will be supplied by the Hinckley Chamber of Commerce. We encourage all children, clubs, cars, and organizations to join in the participation of the parade. If you'd like to participate, please contact Trustee Melissa Augustine at 330-421-8266 for a place in the parade line. This is the same article that goes out every year. I just changed the speaker and the date.
And you're saying this for the trustees corner, or is that in addition to?
No, I'm saying that you mentioned the parade in the trustees corner and it's repetitive. It's not necessary to do both. This is an article that goes in every year.
Just in the paper?
Yes, ma'am.
So
I need.
I don't know if you've had a chance to look at, well, we have a work session on Tuesday. So if you haven't had a chance to look at mine and we can review this, do we just want to table this until the work session? So we're not taking up any more time of tonight's meeting?
I'm asking for permission to post this according to your motion in the Hinckley Record.
Is there enough characters to fit this into the
That's what I was just
Trustee
looking
corner.
at, and I thought we could look at it on Tuesday.
So you want to continue with the trustee corner, Trustee Sweattick? After last meeting, you said you weren't sure that was what you wanted to do.
I have stated my opinion. It should
Well,
be-
I'm saying that I agree with you now. And I don't think that it should continue.
Okay,
I think that it's a silly thing for us to sit here and talk about when basically the minutes are available to hear what we're saying.
I have said that all along.
And to be frank, I just don't think we'll fully agree on everything. I'm at 181 words with this draft. And as I said, it's a standalone article. Do I have your permission to move forward and submit it to script type for the, what is it, May Hinckley Record?
I'm okay with it.
Thank you. Trustee Asherle?
Okay.
Perfect. Do we need a motion?
I think the consensus is fine unless you guys want to.
I'm fine with that.
Perfect. So do we want to move forward with the trustee corner in the newsletter or should we eliminate them?
I think in the spirit of transparency, I think that people like having both, but it's the board, whatever the board decides, I will go along with as a member of the board.
I think if it's not there, we'll start getting more people just looking at the website for that information.
I agree. So I think we'll just move forward without a trustee corner or newsletter.
I would like a motion on
I'd like to make a motion to eliminate the trustee corner from the Hinckley Record and the Hinckley Township newsletter.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
No.
Aye.
And let's see, I got a motion to fund the Memorial Day Parade not to exceed $200 or $100, but I lied. It's actually $200. Because just the wreath alone will cost about $100. So I apologize for that error in the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And I just wanted to let you know that the TIF was something that I thought was really an interesting idea that Bethany had brought to me. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to her. She is a wealth of knowledge and she's very excited about possibilities of using that here in Hinckley Township. And that is all I have.
Okay, you should have in your packet the new resident letter that Lynn made changes to. Very small changes. I think you have the edited version where you can see,
It's in the order.
yeah, she removed recently became and just put as a single hauler solid waste district serviced by Kimball, recycling and disposable companies. And then she just changed the placement to Jack as chairman and myself as vice chair. And this is something that the Hinckley Women's Club sends out with their pizza boxes when they go and welcome new residents. Are we good with that?
Looks good to me.
Okay. The drug mart resolution discussion was already had. The trustees corner review is irrelevant. And one more thing, just as a reminder, so this happens every year, that the Medina County has the community cleanup and voucher program. So if anybody wants to take advantage of the Medina County Solid Waste District, you can dump things in bulk there. I can print up these forms if anybody wants it, or I can email it to you. It's a voucher program. So you can dump bulk trash at Medina County Solid Waste District.
And speaking with the prosecutor's office about 25 River Road, they encouraged us to do a community cleanup program where we have something here at Town Hall where people can come bring their garbage, their waste, their whatever from their yard. Just an idea for future. I know that's something I had mentioned last year, but the prosecutor's office has gone ahead and reiterated that that might benefit us when it pertains to some of the nuisance properties in the township.
Yeah, I had looked into that. I do remember that last year because you asked me about it and it was cost prohibitive, if I remember
I never
correctly.
saw the costs on it, so I'd love to see them.
I can see if I have them. I will forward them to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
That is all I have.
I think the cost is listed right on this. It was $50 a ton. That we would, if we gathered it here, we would have to pay $50 a ton
The voucher, yeah.
to drop it off at the
Oh, for yes.
I think there, if we look, and I think I may have sent it to you, Trustee Ashfield, there was a community cleanup day, and I think it was Medina Township. And their costs were different. And I think because they garner so much waste that they're able to reduce some of the costs associated.
You sent it to me recently or
I
last
sent it to you
year?
last year.
Yeah, I will have to dig because I know I made a couple phone calls on that.
I think I
and-
may have actually sent it to you on Facebook Messenger or something crazy. I saw, because I saw it on Facebook.
I definitely don't remember that. Okay,
All good.
that's all I have.
Let's do items. First, move to approve the Rocky River Watershed Council membership renewal and a supporting donation for 2023 in the amount of $500.
Second.
Second by Augustine, all in favor.
Aye.
Martha, is that form in there? Is that the same as we've used in the past? I don't see anywhere on there to sign.
No, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay. That's it. Move to approve the purchase of sludge for the town hall wastewater plant to replenish the bacterial supply necessary for effective treatment in an amount not to exceed $750.
Second.
Second by Asherle, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And also in your packet, I have the Ohio EPA is requiring the folks that conduct maintenance on wastewater plants to have an agreement with the party for whom they service. So Rick Burhals, who's been doing ours, he prepped a contract for us. It's a very simple thing, and there is a small increase in there that he built in. He hasn't done an increase in, I guess, the 7 years. Yeah, he said that he's been doing it. So
What was the fee before that we were paying him?
It was about $500 a quarter.
So what I will do is send this just to the prosecutor's office first before we vote on it, but I just wanted you to have the information so you can look it over beforehand.
Thank you. I appreciate you sending it ahead of time.
And we have done the cooperative purchasing program, so that is good. That is all I have for this evening, Martha.
I had sent the trustees an agenda item that I will be posting for a fiscal officer assistant for the purpose of taking meeting minutes. I'm just gonna read real quickly what I sent the trustees. I provided the ORC statute that allows me to do so. And say the length and frequency of the meetings over the last several years has greatly increased the amount of time spent on preparing meeting minutes. As a matter of fact, the meeting minutes from the last meeting took me over 6 hours to prepare. This is the reason for my request, which isn't even a request, it's kind of information. I've always made an effort to continue to do this myself to save the township money, but I can no longer do this along with my current workload. There are very few fiscal officers in the county that still take their own minutes. I will comply with all details outlined in the statute, which is statute number 507.021. I recommend the rate of pay be $25 an hour to fairly compensate a qualified individual. And with trustee approval, this will come from the general fund in the form of an additional object code for this purpose. I estimate the cost of this to be approximately $4,000 annually based on the time and quantity of the current meeting schedule.
So do you want to write up the posting that we can
Yeah, I'll
post?
send it to Suzanne.
And then when's a realistic time to have that run?
I will work with Suzanne on that.
Well, thank you for all of the work that you have done on the meeting minutes. I know that's a tumultuous task and I appreciate all that you've done.
That's appreciated but not necessary. I would just say that we need to do that so I can get the work I have to do get done.
I would just like to make a comment to that, I don't think a lot of people understand or know the work that is involved for a township fiscal officer. From the time it was a township clerk to people cutting a few checks here and there, it has grown at such an enormous capacity, handling everything from payrolls, all the HR issues, medical coverage, all that. It's a vastly underpaid and underappreciated position that the folks who do it out of a sense of duty, and it is appreciated. Thank you.
Well, again, it's nice you guys to say that, but that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing it because it's a necessity. I'm not saying I don't want to work.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that when meetings go on for 2.5 hours and then there's multiple meetings all month long, that
People have stated
It's
to me
time
on,
to-
on numerous occasions
It's time to.
in the realm of
offer.
all of it, that they're surprised that you were still taking minutes to begin with.
Yeah, I know, I'm one of the last, but
Diehards.
again, I wanted to compensate it at a rate where get qualified people. I'll outline the requirements, and again, the trustees will have the ability, if they don't want me to do it, they can deny the reallocation of the funding in the general fund when I make a motion to change that, but thank you for listening to me. And currently the fund status is $7,020,058.48, of which $1,094,908.79 is in pooled investments, and $5,925,149.66 are in primary checking. And that's it for me.
Thank you.
I do have one more item before we move on. Just to let the board know, I've been in contact with Davie Resource Group about the road spec they use for Rock Ridge. And the resolution in the road spec resolution, it indicates that a final approval will require a resolution by the board. I talked with the prosecutor's office about that. And if they're in compliance with the spec that's stated in that resolution, he doesn't feel that an additional resolution would be necessary. And we could move forward and amend the current resolution to remove that line that's in there if we wish to do so. But that would take away the ability to allow for a modification to that road spec in anything in the future. Subsequent to me talking with them, I told Davey the same information, and they looked back. I said, if as long as your plans are what they are, and they were made and approved prior to the resolution, they should be good to go. They were not, so now they're revising those, and they'll resubmit those to comply with the current resolution.
I read it many times and read it both ways, so I appreciate your work on that.
Anything from the public?
You've been waiting patiently.
am.
Come on up, Frank.
Back to the podium.
Yes,
Please.
sir.
I've been a resident of Hinckley for 20 years. My name's Frank Severi. I live at 787 Michelle Ridge. Michelle Ridge was never a dedicated road. I don't know if any of you recall that. But Jim Crush, who's no longer with us, he moved forward and had that street rededicated. There are 3 houses on that street. I hope there's only ever 3 houses on that street. That's one of the reasons why I purchased it. I think I reached out to yourself, Ms. Augustine, as well as Mr. Swidek here recently regarding the pavement of that road. That road was never paved until recently here. Last year, right before winter, we were notified that they were going to chip and tar the street. I don't know how many of you are really familiar with what chip and tar really is. I happen to have that on a second driveway. And truthfully, that's not really suitable for a road in real usage. Especially in the usage going out of my driveway and up, because I'm the first house on that street. I have many vehicles. It's one of my hobbies. So I have some resto mods. That's why I went to the podium and asked about the vehicles on that land. There's a lot of things you can do with vehicles. So I was just being curious, but getting back to my issue is the road. Whoever did the work on that road did the shoddiest job I've ever seen. Matter of fact, I have to say, they were supposed to notify the residents on that street when they were going to do that work. They never did. I came home one evening at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and the street was blocked off. And I've got some nice vehicles, and these guys are getting ready to chip and tar the street. And I was livid. Matter of fact, I called the police department. not for those folks. I was fearful of me. That's how livid I was. I said, you guys aren't doing this. Once you guys start this, I can't get a vehicle up and down the road for some time. I looked at me and turned around and told me, he said, we'll only be 30 minutes. That's where our taxpayer money going to. And at that time, I said, I remember calling. I said, this is horrible.
I spoke with you
Yeah, I know you did.
and we stopped it.
Oh, I know what you did. I stopped. You were nice enough to jump in. I'd have stopped. I'm not being arrogant here. They weren't gonna go down that street. They turned around, they said they'd do it the next morning. They did it in 30 minutes. I still can't believe they did that. They were in and out of there in 30 minutes. The work shows. I left pictures for you to take a look at. It is horrible. It's horrible.
And
They came down-
they know it. That's why they're coming back.
I don't know about coming back. To do what? To do the same thing? Chip and tar is a poor surface, a truly poor surface. They should asphalt that street and get it done with so that we're not nickel and diming it. And I mean, it's ridiculous. Your snow plows go down that street, salt that street. That chip and tar is good for not even a year. You'll be back at it again. I mean, why keep wasting taxpayers' money?
So Frank, when you and I talked, we talked about a completely different subject. So bear with me because
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch up. And I apologize that this has happened to you. When was this project done? Last year?
Yes,
Okay.
2022, right before winter. That's correct.
And who do we have do this project? Trustee Sweattick?
I believe it was Melway.
And you've had conversation with Melway?
They're already in the process of correcting it.
Okay, what does that mean?
They're gonna come back. They're probably gonna take up what they can and redo the job.
Okay,
So let me tell you what they have done. Came down the street, they swept it. And they used a vacuum kind of sweeper system to do so, which revealed what really took place. When you pour hot oil and gravel and it adheres in spots, when they came by and swept it up and pulled it, it created even worse undercoating. So they damaged the understreet, the underlayment, they did worse damage by pulling it up. That's why I've taken pictures. I don't know if anybody's been down the street to take a look at it. I don't know how chip and tar is gonna solve that problem. It's not. There's literally ruts in it.
I can see the ruts in the, via the
You should
pictures.
do it on a bicycle
Are
or on a trike.
you tempting me?
Yes. I am.
What is our time frame for this, Trustee Sweattick?
I don't know what the time frame is.
Okay, I just want to make sure that it's done right and that they have adequate notice if we are going to redo this for them.
That's what they were instructed to do.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness with you, you did chew them out pretty good for it because they were supposed to notify us and they never did. And I know that you stepped in. And I appreciate that. I'm just going back to the quality of the work though, and the materials that are being used. I just don't understand that.
I will talk with Mike and make sure that he gets up there and looks at this before they do anything further to make sure that, and has a conversation with the Melway. I don't know if he's a superintendent, president, whoever he is, but he's
Sure.
the top guy. Because he's the one who came out and looked at it and he immediately acknowledged that the job wasn't what it should be. So,
He was the same guy that I had talked to when he originally started. It's the same guy that said he'll be in and out in 30 minutes.
I don't think so.
Why no, so?
You think it was the same guy?
I talked to him when he was out sweeping. He came back up and he looked at me and goes, well, I remember you. I go, I'm sure you do.
No, I mean, I don't know if that's the same
Oh,
fellow.
I had no idea.
That's what I'm saying.
But if you take a look at the aprons of the driveways, right? Of my driveway and my gravel driveway, you can't, I mean, he's destroyed those. And they aren't, according to what they've said, that they're not responsible for that. Yeah, they are. They destroyed it. I mean, it wasn't like that, right? And the city services, these guys do a great job. I mean, it's a very steep road, right? So they're out there, you know, and we've got school buses that come down. Fire department came down last year one time. But I mean, outside of that,
You're really getting to know everybody in the municipality, aren't
yeah,
you?
right. Well, 20 years. So anyways, I really hope that you guys could take a realistic look at this.
I went up the other day, it was obviously before they came and did the sweeping. But I'll make sure and go up again with Mike.
I appreciate it.
And we'll ride our bikes.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for bringing it to our attention, Frank.
Thank you. Good night, folks. If not, see you in another 20 years.
Good night.
Anybody else? If nothing else, I will move to pay the bills in the amount of $63,509.53.
Second.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And at this time, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at 8:12 PM.
Second.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.